So today I'm going to be talking about quality management, not just as a compliance function, but as a system that connects various teams like engineering, operations, supply chain, and leadership. And specifically, we'll look at how Autodesk Fusion Manage can be used to enable a digital quality system. From an agenda, first I'll be talking about what a complete EQMS or enterprise quality management system should include. Then we'll look at where quality systems typically break down in manufacturing environments, and I'll provide a quick overview of Fusion Manage and how it supports quality as part of a connected product strategy. Then we'll talk about creating a true digital thread across various quality functions like NCRs, CAPA, and engineering change, and walk through the core quality workspaces within Fusion Manage and what digital maturity really means in that context. And finally, we'll go through a live scenario from non-conformance to corrective action engineering change, so you can see how it works end to end in Fusion Manage, and make sure to leave time for questions. One of the biggest misconceptions about quality is that it's solely owned by the quality department. In reality, quality is an enterprise-wide responsibility. So you get the screen throughout the life cycle, from tooling, design controls, lot tracking, supply chain, corrective actions. Lots of teams touch these various functions which impact quality in some way. And even if one of the groups operates outside of a controlled system, risk is introduced. And what are those components of a controlled system? What's on this screen? Firms turn to an enterprise quality management system to help control and improve their quality. And when we talk about an EQMS, we're really talking about a connected set of capabilities that work together to streamline quality operations. Starting with document control, this ensures that procedures, work instructions, and records are approved, version controlled, and the latest information is what people are using to do the work. CAPA is where organizations move from reacting to problems to preventing them. It formalizes root cause analysis and ensures that corrective actions are implemented and verified for effectiveness. Audit management gives structure to internal and external audits, helping teams identify gaps early, track findings, and ensure follow-up actions are completed rather than living in spreadsheets or email. Supplier quality extends the quality system beyond your own operations. It manages supplier approvals, performance, deviations, and corrective actions so that quality issues are addressed at the source, not after materials are arrived. Change management ensures that changes to designs, processes, or documents are evaluated for quality impact before they're released, reducing unintended consequences downstream. Non-conformance management provides a consistent way to capture and track deviations across materials, processes, and products, creating visibility into recurring issues and risk areas. Training management or learning management ties people into the system, making sure employees are trained on the right procedures and updates occur or have certifications. And finally, inspection, tests, and validation verifies that products meet their requirements before release, and when connected digitally, this data feeds back into quality improvement rather than existing in isolation. So together, these components form a closed loop quality system that focuses less on finding defects and more on preventing them. Quality can be impacted at many points throughout a project or product lifecycle, and they don't often begin at production. So kind of laid out 3 stages: configure and quote, purchase and manage, and assemble and inspect here. Walking through some of the common business problems we see across the industry and what the business impact of those are. By the time a product reaches configure and quote, some of the biggest risks are if engineering specifications are incomplete, outdated, or unclear, or if sales doesn't have visibility into those approved options and materials. So this introduces risk before a purchase order is even placed. And the downstream impact shows up in 2 major ways. First, budgets and cost models are built on obsolete bill of materials or specification, which erodes your margin. And second, engineering gets pulled into rework and clarification instead of focusing on innovation and improvement. So the real issue isn't about quality control, it's about alignment and visibility across teams. Let's move into purchasing and material project management. A new set of risks emerge if you have missing certifications or incomplete compliance documentations that can delay shipments, create audit exposure, or even prevent product release at the same time. If purchasing isn't tied directly to the latest design revisions or specifications, the wrong email can enter the system, or wrong material can enter the system. If engineering has already upped that might not be known by other teams. And this is where the business impact can become very tangible. Material variability or lot quality issues can disrupt production schedules and create unplanned downtime. Even more concerning, expired, obsolete, or non-conforming material can be issued into production simply because there isn't system-level control or traceability on what's approved. And again, these aren't usually isolated mistakes. They're symptoms of disconnected data and process handoffs between engineering, procurement, and quality. As we move into assembly and inspection, the impact of upstream disconnects becomes fully visible. If there's no formal material routing or documented handoff sequence, standard operating procedures, teams start to rely on tribal knowledge, which increases variation and reduces repeatability. If work instructions are directly linked back to release design or controlled procedures, operators may be building to outdated information. And this is where the cost can really show up. Defects can be found too late, after work has already been done, leading to rework, scrap, or even customer returns. At that point, the organization becomes reactive, expedites start running the day, status visibility drops, and leadership is responding instead of managing proactively. And again, what's important to realize is this is symptoms of a broken digital thread across your product lifecycle. The Fusion Manage is a solution to address these areas. It's not just a quality management tool, it's a cloud-based data and process management platform that connects product information, workflows, and cross-functional teams into this digital environment. Think of it as a backbone to a digital thread. At its core, it manages structured data like items, BOMs, quality records, supplier documentation, and linking all that together. So around that core, you can configure the processes that govern how work flows across your organization. And what's important is that you don't have to deploy everything all at once. Most organizations start with 2 or 3 high impact use cases. They stabilize those processes, connect the data properly, create visibility where it's needed, and then expand into other areas and scale as the organization matures. Because it's configurable and modular, you can grow into it rather than rip and replace everything on day one. The real value comes from starting to link all these data and processes together, create that digital web, so that when a quality event occurs, it automatically connects to engineering information, change information, BOM updates, and downstream execution. So that's when you move from reactive firefighting to controlled lifecycle management. And one of the unique things about Fusion Manage is included in your license is a workflow library. Right now, there's over 35 included modules that drastically reduce implementation time. These are templates built around common industry standards, everything from change management and document control to more advanced use cases like first article inspection, 8D reports, or supplier audits. And what's great here is the balance of structure and flexibility. Many of these modules come pre-configured with workspaces, roles, and permissions already set up, so you're not starting from a blank state. That said, some are more of a framework or a starter kit, which gives you the structure, data model, and workflow path, but they're intended to be tailored based on your specific business processes, and that's the real value. Is everything's configurable without code. Well, you can add scripting for better automation. It's very easy to add fields, edit workflows, and redefine approval steps with point-and-click tools, and not custom scripting. So this means you get a fast head start with industry-aligned modules, the freedom to make your own, and the ability to expand your solution over time as new needs arise. It's a scalable foundation that supports both quick wins and long-term growth. I talk about a digital thread and quality. This is the slide that kind of represents that. It's not just forms moving through workflows, it's a connected, governed product data flowing across the entire life cycle. And that doesn't mean all of this information or processes need to live in a singular system like Fusion Manage. You still will have ERP systems that manage transactions and financials. PDM systems like Vault will continue to manage those CAD files and engineering, design compliance history, and other systems like training platforms, learning management, asset management that you've already implemented should continue to exist and just tie into this digital thread. What a solution like Fusion Manage does is connect all that information, linking handoffs, decisions, and structured product data across engineering, quality, supply chain, operations, and other cross-functional teams. It becomes the governed process layer that ties those systems together rather than becoming another isolated tool. Through integration with tools like your ERP and PDM systems, Fusion Manage ensures that product master data, items, BOMs, and revisions stay aligned across the enterprise. So when a change is approved, that update can propagate downstream. When a quality event occurs, it can reference the exact revision and product structure that's managed in the system, external systems. And Fusion Manage acts as this control tower for product and quality governance, orchestrating handoffs, enforcing revision control, and maintaining traceability across the enterprise. So that's one of the highest impacts and outcomes of adopting a digital strategy like this. Talking about a handful of the things up on the screen. First area will be in the product master and items and BOMs. Again, what makes Fusion Manage unique compared to other quality management systems is its ability to start connecting product information like your bill of material specifications and the revisions and life cycle states directly with the processes that govern them. Most systems manage either data or workflows, and Fusion Manage starts to tie the two together and integrate them into your broader enterprise architecture. So diving into what items and BOMs are Fusion Manage, it really helps your teams with part search and retrieval of that part information. This is where the product definition lives in a structured, governed way instead of just a part number. This item master becomes an authoritative record of the product. It can include technical information like material, weight, dimensions, compliance attributes, inspection requirements, and reference suppliers and its revision status. So it's not just data storage, it's controlled product definition that's tied directly to various processes. From there, structured items and bill of materials can connect engineering, operational execution, files, and release revisions. They'll continue to live in Vault where design history and file control belong, but through integration, that metadata and revision status are synchronized with Fusion Manage so that quality events, changes, and compliance records always reference the correct release design. And then there's no duplication of these systems. Vault manages the design files, Fusion Manage governs the life cycle and process layer around them. Also, for information or data that may not be in part of your 3D model or inside a PDM system, you can add those items into a tool like Fusion Manage, to say paint, oil, chains, or other purchased parts. And that same principle applies to ERP. ERP remains the system of record for your transactions, purchasing, financials, but the governed product structure and the controlled item master and revision aligned bill of material originates here. So when a change is approved, that update can flow downstream into the ensuring that execution aligns with the engineering and quality decisions. So this prevents misalignment between what was designed, what was approved, and what's actually going to be built or purchased. Because the item master is connected to change workflows, compliance tracking, inspections, or quality controls, part search becomes more than just retrieval. It's contextual visibility. You're not just finding a part, you're seeing its revision history, open changes, its compliance status, and its inspection requirements all in one governed view. And linking to that would be a product master, the anchor to the digital thread. This is where engineering, manufacturing, quality, and other cross-functional teams all converge around a single governed definition of the product. It's not just the part number, it represents the full life cycle of that product through proposal and development, through sales, launch, maintenance, and ultimately end of life. Within that structure, you're managing different bill of materials like your engineering BOM, which is how it's the product design and release, MBOM or manufacturing, which is how it's planned and built, how it routes on the shop floor, and even something like a SBOM for service and maintenance. And that alignment across engineering, manufacturing, and service is critical. When those bill of materials drift apart in disconnected system, quality issues and operational inefficiencies will follow. But when they're connected through a governed product master, revision control and traceability become automatic rather than manual. This is where approved drawings, specifications, work instructions, labeling, packaging requirements, and release checklists are tied directly to a product. So critical characteristics, supplier assignments, material specs, and all of these toolings can reference back to this controlled backbone. So when a change occurs, it's not just updating a document in isolation, it's updating all the governed product information that downstream teams rely on. When you control the product master at this level, quality is embedded into the life cycle, and that's what allows this digital thread to function and prevents downstream firefighting. When we going back to the digital thread, extending beyond internal teams, suppliers become a part of this governed ecosystem. Instead of a supplier information living in spreadsheets or email threads, supplier activity can tie directly back to the approved items, the current revision of a bill of materials, any linked non-conformances or corrective actions, relevant lots. And this ensures supplier performance, product data, and quality events are all connected and not fragmented throughout your product lifecycle. Diving deeper to supplier collaboration within Fusion Manage, your governance is internal, but collaboration with suppliers is external. And this slide shows how structured supplier works in practice. You can have those like RFQ, supplier packages, and co-development processes, and bring suppliers into those workflows so they can interact inside a governed framework, not through unmanaged email chains. So we can share controlled item revisions, request documentation tied to specific items, track deliverables, manage status visibility, and capture supplier acknowledgements, linking all that to the bill of materials, change, and quality events. And because this sits on top of those items and products, we eliminate one of the biggest risks in supplier management, which is suppliers building or quoting against the wrong revision. And again, ERP and Vault or other systems can integrate it at any point, ensuring that pricing, purchasing, and release design data are synchronized. Supplier management isn't just a contact database within Fusion Manage, it's a controlled qualification and lifecycle governance. We can contract the qualified parts and processes applied to their certifications and regulatory agreements, performance scorecards, audit results, and any linked non-conformances and corrective actions, as well as approved alternates for what they provide to you, and all of this at lot level traceability, so you understand which lots they're involved in. The supplier record becomes a living entity with status control, so you understand if the supplier's active, if they're under review or inactive. And again, a workflow like this can be completely changed and adjusted to how your company views and manages suppliers. And this allows you to very easily answer critical questions like, is this supplier approved for this part? Has performance dropped below a certain threshold? Are there any active or open corrective actions? And this level of visibility reduces risk before we move into production. We look back at the digital thread here. This highlighted section is where quality becomes systematic. Non-conformances don't live alone. They'll start to connect directly into corrective actions and change management and document control, and then downstream into your items, bill of materials, and external systems. So this is where containment turns into structural correction. Instead of a defect being logged and closed in isolation, it can then trigger root cause investigations, planned deviations, formal engineering change, and automatic updates to ERPs and Vault. That closed loop traceability is what transforms reactive quality into controlled product evolution. So, looking at non-conformances, Within Fusion Manage, they can originate from a variety of things like audits, inspections, or customer claims. An entry can happen directly within the system via desktop or mobile application, and it could also be done through an integration with a tool like an MES or a digital form. Having Fusion Manage, we can then tie that nonconformance directly to other things in the system like lot records, suppliers, the product master, specific item and BOM revisions, and controlled documents. And then this workflow moves through a predefined process, which out of the box is 3 steps: identification, review, and disposition. And this is not just documentation. It starts to drive actions when it hands it off to other processes like a material review or a corrective action, which can then lead to plan deviation and inevitably a change order. And this isn't one of the value here is it starts to bring data from a process like a nonconformance into these downstream processes, which helps reduce having to enter data in multiple times, and just makes everything a lot more streamlined. Corrective actions is where we move from reaction to prevention, start to do root cause management, linking change directly to affected items, lots, documents, and stakeholders. This ensures that we're not solving a symptom, we're identifying the systematic drivers. From there, a planned deviation can evaluate risk and impact, cost implications, capacity considerations, feasibility and alternatives, and required approvals. And if a structured change is required, it can flow directly into a change order. Notice the feedback loop at the bottom. KPIs, trend reporting, and cross-process visibility, these stages, so leaders help measure cycle time, reoccurrence, supplier impact, and the cost of quality. Getting into that engineering change and release problem most companies face is change is managed through email or spreadsheets, and the impact analysis is manual. Updates to systems like ERP and PDM is disconnected, and procurement and manufacturing have to check multiple systems to understand what's going on. Fusion Manage structures this entire life cycle, so changes are routed through governed workflows. Impact checks include where used analysis, open orders and inventory, supplier exposure, and upon release, updates can sync automatically to ERP or PDM systems, update those life cycle states. Attachments can auto-associate and be brought over, and stakeholders receive task notifications when they are part of this process. So this removes duplicate part creation, eliminates revision confusion between systems, and the outcome is pretty measurable. You have faster change processing, reduced review effort, automated system synchronization, and lower risk of production error. Over the past few slides, I've kind of walked through the core areas that we typically focus on: non-conformances, CAPAs, engineering changes, and how all that connects back to the product master bill of materials, and other areas of your product lifecycle. And those are processes that define whether quality is reactive and disconnected or structured and traceable. And this slide starts to zoom out and put that into context. Before we ever talk about tools, we like to start by understanding where our customers or you stand on this matrix to help framing the conversation around maturity, not software. Where we commonly see people, where I've red circles on the screen, and a lot of that's in this level 2 documented. These documented processes, SOPs live in binders, PDFs, nonconformas, and or CAPAs are tracked in spreadsheets. Changes maybe revision control, but there's no real awareness across of that status across teams, and training is managed separately. Metrics may be reviewed monthly or quarterly, but not tied directly back to product data. This is where we see the biggest opportunity for teams, because you have the processes there, they're just not connected. And the real shift happens is when you're adopting a tool like Fusion Manage, we can start to tie those processes back to governed product data, the item master, bill of materials, revision, the life cycle state. So change, quality, training, and analytics are all operating within the same digital thread. With that context in mind, I'm going to hand Chris to do a live demo of.
Let's jump into Fusion Manage and let's take a quick spin and see how some of this works in the quality process. To start off, we come in, this is our dashboard. And you can see here at the top of the dashboard, we have charts that can be added. So anything that you can report on, you can create a chart of that report. So here we have disposition codes for non-conformancies or non-conformancies by related suppliers. Those kinds of things can all be tracked right here, really easy to see when you go in. Then you have your outstanding work. So that's anything that you may have assigned to you. You can see I have plenty. And then underneath that, we can have anything, we can have some bookmarks if there's some things I want to pin and say, I'm going to be going into this often, or I've got the last handful of things that I've opened that I can go back and look at. So we'll jump up here to the menu. We go into our workspaces. We go into quality management, and we're going to start off with the non-conformancy. And we want to create a new one, so we just hit the big plus. And I can go into this non-conformancy. I can say, give it a severity level. And this is all the out-of-the-box functionality of Fusion Manage. All this stuff is pre-built into the system to be a wide range industry standard, but your industry may be different. So if you need any of these things tweaked, maybe something uses different terminology, maybe you don't need this field or that field, that's all easy to change and readily available to make those changes. We can make this one a level 2. Now it wants to know what item, so I can come through here and pick an item, and I can pick the revision of the item. Now this being a freshly built tenant, a lot of these items are either Rev A or Rev W. W is a working version, and A is the released version, so I will just pick something at a Rev A. It wants to know the affected quantity, so 34 of these have been affected, and we know that there's a misalignment of a hole. So we give it a real quick description, whatever you want that to be. We can come through here, we can pick things like our related supplier, so we'll say it's Arrow. If there's an order number tied to it, we can put that in as well. What was the inspection type? This could be something we found in incoming materials, was done by internal quality. If we have any images of the misaligned hole, we can drag and drop the image right here. And you can see firsthand, someone took a picture with their cell phone, they drag and drop this image, and it shows, hey, these two holes in this assembly don't line up, something's going on. You can add a descriptor to what that is if you want to. Under review, we can have a business impact. So this one, the line shut down, I can't assemble these parts. We've got a containment action, so we could put in here we want to quarantine this or whatever we wanted to do with that. Then it's going to ask us, do we want to initiate a CAPA based off this non-conformancy? We're going to say yes. There's going to have to be some sort of CAPA created to track this even further. Disposition of this inventory, what do we want to do with it? We may be able to rework it. So let's hit rework for now and see what we can do there. Now it's going to need an approver. I make that myself. If there's any disposition notes I want, or if there's any stakeholder stuff in here, I can say do that. We click save. And now this saves all the information that we put in. If there's any type of other attachments we want to add, we can do that up here. But we can also go in and look at the workflow. Again, this is the real simple out-of-the-box workflow. Steps can be added or subtracted in here. We can add even things as simple as saying maybe we want to take this from disposition in progress back to cancel. We can add those types of loops. That's fairly common to make those changes and very easy to do. Now, there's two ways we can advance this in the workflow. I can either click it here, or I can do it up here at the top. So this one we'll submit for review. I confirm it, and it pushes it to the next step. Now we can see it's under review. So we're going to go ahead and move this one to approve for disposition. You can add a comment in the section if you need to, or no comments. Lots of times whenever I set these up, approval doesn't necessarily need a comment, but if we say, no, we're not going to approve this, we want to see some sort of comment on here on why you didn't. So now we can see it move to the next step. We go, and then we can look at any of this. So if there's anything else that needed to be filled out, it could have been done in here as well. And again, even from the screen, we can go and we can say initiate the CAPA. Any of those workflow changes can be done from here. So now as we initiated the CAPA, we can come through and we can see again, any of these things that we may want to go in and change, we can make those changes. Now we're locked, so we're good to go. And then here under closing, we now have a link to related CAPA. So I can open this. I like to teach people right mouse button, open new link, or open link in new tab is your best friend. Because now you can keep the nonconformity open and you can be inside the CAPA. Once we're in the CAPA, you can see that this is a new document. We'll go in and we'll click edit because we need to make some changes in here. It initiates it, but I need to know that the team is me. I'm assigning it to myself. Here in reference, now we have the link back to the nonconformity. So if we did just click on that and jump into it, we could open the nonconformity in a new tab from here as well. So we've got our definition, our objective, our scope. To say we can dig a little deeper in this. I just want to show you guys all these fields that are available. We have root cause. So as we started looking into this, we could find, maybe we saw exactly what the issue was right in the beginning. We could put this in. Let's give this a quick save. Let's look at the workflow real quick. We can see in the workflow, we have these different steps, again, out of the box, for all these different areas that we saw the sections for. So people can go in and they can fill out these sections based off of those workflow steps. Or if you're a smaller organization, maybe one person's in charge of doing all of this, they can go in and they can fill all this stuff out right off the bat. So I know the possible cause was an incorrect tolerance. It was a mistyped tolerance. It was a human error. Action taken. So they typed it wrong. It was supposed to be, and see, I even typed it wrong here. It's supposed to be 0.0125, and they typed 0.125. So it needs to be corrected. The tolerance was way too loose, causing a misalignment of the holes. I save that, and just like we did earlier, I can go in and push this through the workflow. Let's see, there's a failure in the operation. So I say, oh, there's something I didn't do. There's a couple things that I didn't do. I didn't put an objective in and I didn't put a scope in. So what's nice about this system is it will not allow you to go in and push something if there's some needed information. So I go back into edit, objective. We need to correct the drawing. I think that's what we had, was the objective and scope needed to be done. And same thing there, we'll give you that error saying, hey, you didn't click save. So if you leave this, you're gonna lose your work. So now we can see that it allowed us to move forward. And we'll go back into edit and we'll make sure that everything is tidied up now. I need notes. So one thing it's gonna wanna know is, do we need a change request? Yes, we're gonna need to create an engineering change request to correct the document. Control summary. We'll just put it in here again to correct the drawing. We'll save it. Proceed to analysis. If there's any type of milestones that need to be tracked, we have some out of the box milestones, and anything else that may need to be added to meet your business process, those can easily be added as well. Any notification, so anyone, maybe someone needs to be just notified that we've hit this phase in the workflow. Their name can be put in here and they can be notified specifically of this change, or systemically we can do that if a certain group in quality needs to know anytime it hits analysis, then they can be notified as well. And go back and look at the workflow. Again, we can do this at the top or down here. We confirm that we want to proceed to the improvement. Now we'll proceed to control. We'll go back and look at the kappa, and we can see right here that now we have a link to a change request. So this change request has been created. And now engineering can go in and they can process this change request. They can add the affected item. So as opposed to an assembly, maybe we saw it in the assembly phase, they can go in and put the actual subcomponent where the tolerance was incorrect. Those kinds of things. They can add affected items and they process their workflow as an engineering workflow. So depending on your process, some people may want to say, we can't close the kappa until the engineering change is complete. And that's fine. A hard stop control could be put in here to say, I can't move this, as we saw earlier, you get the red box. I can't move this to closed until that EC is done. But out of the box functionality lets us say, we've created the EC, so we can move this forward. We do this, now the kappa is closed. If I come back into here and I refresh my nonconformity, I can also see up here at the top that closed the nonconformity because the kappa was closed. So all of these systems or all of these processes are tied together now, as opposed to being a nonconformity silo, a kappa silo, and then an engineering change silo. They're all actively talking and we don't have to rely on human glue to have emails, conversations, those types of things. The system's making it happen behind the scenes.